All right. Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. I came all the way from Norway, as you know, to talk to you about how to foster a great culture of discovery. But I'm actually not too far from my hometown, Lisbon, so it's very special for me to be here in Spain, talking with you. All right, let's dive in. How do we foster a great culture of discovery? And why is it so important? I want to start by addressing what I hope to be an uncomfortable fact for most of us. It certainly is for me. The fact that most products fail to deliver on expectations. And I know this is an established fact, and I know you know this, but do we really know why? So many ideas that should have been killed years ago and are now 3-year-old projects that no one cares about, that won't achieve any of the outcomes they want. So many product teams chasing the next feature, and the next feature, and the next feature, completely trapped in the maze of useless feature requests. So many products that fail. What's going on? I believe that a weak culture of discovery is frequently at the heart of product failure. Because when we have a strong culture of discovery, we are able to unfold the truth of what our customers actually want before we build anything. We're able to unfold the facts of whether our customers actually want that product, whether they're willing to pay for it or not. And so building products that no one wants to buy is ultimately a cultural problem. Now, the good news for all of us, and for me, is that we can change culture. We cannot change it in one day, but we can change it gradually. And all we have to do is to spend a lot of energy and effort designing the right environment and incentivizing the right behaviors. But this is precisely what most companies don't do. You see, when it comes to product discovery, when it comes to discovering the right thing to build, everybody blames the product teams. It's all about the product teams. Oh, the product teams didn't do discovery, or the product teams didn't do good enough discovery. And we forget that product teams are part of larger systems that incentivize and constrain certain behaviors. You can have the best product team in the world. The best product team in the world. If that team is surrounded by poor product leadership and a dysfunctional environment, they won't succeed and they will build a product that no one wants. I was once mentoring a PM. She was working in a very strong product organization. She was a very strong PM, loved to do discovery, built amazing products, and then she moved to a different organization, a more traditional one. And we were talking, and I was telling her, look, from what I can hear, you don't seem to be doing any discovery at all. You don't seem to be talking with any customers. I mean, when was the last time you talked with a customer? You don't seem to be ideating, validating your hypothesis. From what I can hear, you seem to be spending most of your time grooming the backlog and most of your time in Jira. What's going on? And she goes, why should I bother doing discovery if I'll be told what to build anyway? Sounds familiar? My friends, we need to understand that product teams won't do real product discovery unless their leaders design the right environment for that to happen and foster the right behaviors. Real cultures of experimentation with customers, real cultures of cross-functional collaboration, real cultures of evidence-based decision-making, real cultures of discovery. So where do we start? I'm going to walk you through 5 things that you can do today, or tomorrow, maybe not today. 5 things that you can do to foster this amazing culture. And I would like to begin by what I call what I think is the starting point of discovery, empowering teams to solve problems rather than to build solutions. When the starting point of a team is a customer problem or a business problem, that enables discovery. When the starting point of a team is a problem to solve or an opportunity to tackle, that enables discovery. Then the team is empowered to discover a solution to solve that problem. Now, we all know that's not what tends to happen. What tends to happen is that leadership goes off-site. They go off-site and they come back with a beautiful roadmap of features and stuff that they want, the founders and the executives, and all of these beautiful buttons and things that they want. Features to build, projects to execute. And that enables design and validation at most, which is very different than discovery. When this is the starting point of most teams, there's nothing to discover. The solution was already decided. You know, in true amazing product organizations with strong cultures of discovery, everything starts with a product vision, a clear idea of the world we want to create. And great leaders, they evangelize the shit out of that. And then there's a clear idea of how we want to make that vision a reality. What are we saying no to? What's truly important? That's our product strategy. And by the way, those decisions are based on insights, of course. And then we deploy that strategy through team objectives, the most important customer and business problems to solve or opportunities to tackle. That is the starting point. That will guide the continuous discoveries of the teams. And then all of these insights that the teams are learning or should be learning, that feeds back to product strategy. It's a beautiful collaboration between product leadership and product teams. This is not top-down. It's a beautiful collaboration. That's how we escape what I call the disconnected strategy trap. With continuous discovery almost at the center of it, and a very intense collaboration with the leaders and the teams. So, this is foundation number one. If we want to foster a great culture of discovery in our organizations, we need to really start assigning problems to solve, not features to build. We don't want teams to work sequentially, to implement feature requests that salesperson came in with, or we don't want that. You know, that feature request to the product manager writes some fancy user requirements, hands it over to the designer. Design does its thing and hands it over to the engineers, and the first time the engineers are looking at the product they are going to build is in sprint planning. It's a tragic waste of creativity. And then everybody is accountable for the output. Everybody is accountable for building the thing, regardless if the thing actually generated the results we wanted. A lot of teams don't care about that because they're not accountable for it. They were not even part of deciding what that thing should be. What we want is teams to work collaboratively to discover solutions for a certain problem, and then being accountable for the outcomes, being accountable for the results of what they're building. Not just the product manager, the whole team, all the engineers. Accountability fosters curiosity. When we are accountable for the results of what we're building, we will be curious about what our customers actually want, because we don't want to spend our time building a useless product. So it's very important that we do this as a team, and Marty Kagan puts it beautifully and very simply. If you're just using your engineers to code, you're only getting about half their value. So that is foundation number one. We need to start with problems to solve, empowering those teams, but we actually need to make sure that we have those teams in place. We have those cross-functional teams in place. Teresa Torres argues that the product trio should be at least the minimum. I was once mentoring another PM. He's a good friend of mine. We were having a late night discussion, and he told me, last week my product leader came in to the office. She read Empowered of Marty Kagan. She read Teresa Torres. She was so inspired, and she told me, "You are now empowered. Go and do discovery. Go and do discovery, she said. Nothing more, nothing less. Great intentions. Amazing intentions. And you may be thinking, well, lucky guy, you know. A lot of product managers want to hear that. But he was happy, but he was also terrified. Because he told me, look, she told me, go and do discovery, and I'm empowered and all of a sudden accountable for the results. I mean, where should I start? Yes, it's amazing that we empower teams, that we, ensure that we have those teams in place and we empower them with problems to solve, but we need to help those teams. We need to show them what great looks like. We need to set expectations of what great discovery looks like. And then we need to, again, spend a lot of time designing that environment to foster such habits, the habits that we want to see in those teams. And when it comes to setting expectations of what great looks like, it really starts by understanding that discovery is all about finding out what to build, right? We do discovery so that we are sure, at least with confidence, that we are building the right thing. And hopefully, if we build the right thing right, then we create value, right? Now, the madness that is going around in our industry is that there's so much over-focus on product delivery, on building the thing right. So many product people completely obsessed about frameworks, delivery frameworks, not spending any time almost figuring out whether that's the right thing to build or not. And this is really easy to spot on. I mean, you just go on LinkedIn and you search for job applications for product manager roles, and a lot of what you read in key accountabilities, usually like 5 bullet points, it's stuff like writing user stories, facilitating retrospective meetings. Key accountability, 5 bullet points. I'm not making these up. These are true job outlines out there. It's delivery, full focus on frameworks. We need to understand that our job is not to religiously follow and master frameworks. Frameworks are important, they are extremely valuable, but ultimately our job, as you know, is to create value for our customers and for our business. And the only way to do that is by building the right things. And the only way to know whether we're building the right things is to do great discovery. So what is that? Well, I'll make it simple for you. I'm not going to show you a framework. Great discovery, well, at least not yet. Great discovery is about turning your guesses into facts. That's it. Great discovery is about turning your assumptions into facts. You have a problem to solve, and someone says, "Oh, I have a great idea." Regardless of who this person is, everything that follows is assumptions. I have a great idea. Well, good for you, but let's map out those assumptions. You probably have assumptions that that is indeed a great idea, a great value proposition that addresses the right customer problems. You have assumptions that you have the right channels to deliver that value. You have assumptions that you have the right ways to managing those relationships. You have assumptions that those customers are willing to pay for that value proposition. You have assumptions that all of this is part of a sustainably profitable business model. You have assumptions that you have the right partners to build this stuff. You have assumptions that you have the right team, the right competency. Assumptions. Well, that's amazing. Map them out. Map your assumptions out. That's incredibly important. And you can use tools like the business model canvas, which is what you're seeing now, but there's other canvases, like the lean canvas. It's a great tool as well. Again, the focus is not on the frameworks, although I do believe that some frameworks help us a lot. The focus is so that when we build products, we are constantly addressing the most important risks. Is the product desirable? Do customers even want it? Can they actually use the product? Usability? Should we even build this stuff? I mean, is it part of a sustainably profitable business model? How do you know? And can you actually build this thing? Feasibility. So that's where most great product teams spend most of their time, 70% of their time, answering the most important questions in product. Will customers buy it? How do you know? Show me the evidence. Do they even want it? And by the way, it's also not enough that you have a few customers that want your product. You must have enough of them. It must be a big enough total addressable market. So you need to estimate that as well. We need to do those things. And also, it's not enough that we have a great value proposition that some customers are willing to pay for if it doesn't work for the business. If your sales team can't sell that thing, or marketing doesn't want to market it for some weird reason, or customer success, whatever. So we need to validate that too. And can they use it, and can we actually build it? And here's a common pitfall. Can we build this? It's not just about the feature or the product, it's about the whole business model. Can we create this value? Can we deliver this value? And can we capture this value? We need to think about all of this. So we really need to get out of the building every week and test our most important assumptions around the whole business model as a team. It's so powerful when we do this together. It really is. It's a magical thing. And until we're confident about what to build. And it all starts with speaking with customers every week so that we continuously dissect those insights that we want to hear, that we want to unfold, so that we stay ahead of the game, so that we continuously unfold new opportunities that we didn't even know existed. And so what can you do tomorrow to foster that culture in your team, in your organization? Well, there's something I like to do, which is to start getting in the habit of what you've learned that week. I usually like to set an expectation that every Friday morning, we're going to talk about what we've learned that week. And what you'll see gradually is that you'll start creating this continuous loop of customer learning that you want to see. And then what we want to do is we want to dissect those insights. We want to keep them very digestible. And we want to share those insights across the organization. Don't keep those insights for yourself, for your team. There's so many great product people out there in your organizations without the product title. You're missing out on their contributions. Sharing insights from our discoveries is such a powerful way to build trust. It's such a powerful way to break silos with sales. I mean, come on. We all complain about sales, I hear this all the time. Like there's always this tension with sales. Like, come on, it doesn't need to be like that. We can be best friends. And sharing these insights in a digestible way, in a place that everybody has access to, it also allows us to leverage the power of collective intelligence, which is a very important point. So it's really great that we share all of these insights from our customer conversations every week. However, unfortunately, just talking with customers is also not enough. We need to strengthen that evidence from what customers say they'll do to what customers actually do. This is part of setting great expectations to foster this culture of discovery. So, what you want to avoid is to literally just build the thing. No customer conversations whatsoever, no testing whatsoever. That's a terrible idea most of the time. But asking questions about the hypothetical future is not particularly helpful either. I'm going to tell you a little story. I was once coaching a PM, and it was part of his coaching plan to get better at user interviewing. And so I told him, look, the best way to do this is so that I observe these customer interviews and then I might interact during the interview, and then we have a little debrief, and we do that, and you will get better. And we do this together. So it's part of his coaching plan. Okay, fine. So we went to this customer interview, and from minute number 1, he was so passionate about the prototype he had built with the team, about the whole idea. He was so passionate about it, and he was pitching. He was pitching it to the customer so much. And and he would ask, would you type questions. So would this solve the problem then? And the customer was like, yeah, it sounds great. Just nodding. And he was taking notes. Oh, yes, sounds great. And I have a great product. And then in the end of the meeting, I asked three questions. So walk me through how you actually solve this problem today. And the customer goes, oh, well, we actually subscribe to this other product that has this little feature that kind of does the job. Oh, interesting. So how much do you pay for that? Well, it's actually free because we already subscribe to that. It works for us. Interesting. So when was the last time you experienced this problem then? Now that you say that, I'm actually not sure. It must have been a long time ago. Very different insights from the ones that we were getting from asking would you type questions and pitching the idea. And so in the end of the interview, I told him, look, it's amazing that you're passionate. It's amazing that you are so passionate about your idea. But remember one thing, the more passionate you are, the more protective of your feelings they will get. These are nice people. They see clearly that it's your idea and that you're passionate about it. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. So that's one very important point. The other point is the more we pitch about our ideas, the less the customer talks about their problems. The more we pitch about our ideas, the less they talk about what we actually want to learn, their problems, how they solve it today, how much they pay for it, all those facts that we need to unfold when we talk with customers. So that's what we want to do. And then we want to evolve that into getting actual facts through actions. So one thing is to get a bunch of people saying that they will buy your product. Oh, I'll definitely buy this stuff. Amazing. That's one thing. The other thing is to actually get some signed letters of intent. That's yet another thing. It's much stronger evidence. And yet another thing is to actually open for pre-sales and get a bunch of customers buying your product that you haven't even built yet. That's clear evidence that your customers want this. So we can learn so much before we build anything. We talk about the build, measure, and learn loop from Lean. It should start with learn, not with build. That's a point that David Bland has made before. And building is frequently the most expensive way to learn. So we need to start small and design more and more advanced experiments as we go, so that we decrease our ideas progressively. Now, by the way, I really recommend you digging into the work of David Bland. He's had a fantastic contribution to our industry. Okay, so setting great expectations. Fine, amazing. Telling teams, telling those around us what great looks like, that's great. Showing them it's even better. But what else can we do to foster this amazing culture of discovery in our organization that will dramatically increase our likelihood of success? What else can we do? I'll tell you one thing. A great question goes a long way. Asking great questions goes a long way. I want to tell you another story. I was once lucky enough to be part of a meeting where a product team was presenting their new prototype of a feature they wanted to build to the leadership team. And I got to observe two very different leadership styles. So the first leader, after the team went on a rant explaining all the prototype and how this will be amazing, and there was a hockey stick projected revenue, as always, all of that stuff. And And then the first leader goes, so how long will this take to build then? And can we have it by the end of the quarter? So that we enter a new OKR cycle with something new? And they were, yeah, I guess so. And the second leader asked a very different question. He asked, well, hold on a second. I mean, how confident are you that this is actually something that customers want? Walk me through your process. Walk me through the evidence you have, the experiments you've made that are leading to you making this decision of building this thing. And you know what? It turned out that the team didn't do enough discovery. It turned out that the team went back, validated their assumptions, and learned that customers weren't willing to pay for that. And it turned out that they pivoted and they built a great product. One question saved that company quite a bit of money and saved them from building yet another product that no one wants to buy. So that's foundation number 4. What you ask for is what you get. And great questions goes a long way. We need to spend a lot of time and effort asking better questions, regardless whether we are product leaders or not. And by the way, just to get a sense of the room, how many of you are product leaders, meaning you're managing product teams? Like lead PMs, directors of product, VPs of product, CPOs, okay. Almost like a fifth of the room, so quite a lot. So of course, this is even more powerful if it comes from the product leaders. But everyone has responsibility to create these cultures. I mean, ultimately, it is the success of our products. Life is too short to build products that no one wants to buy. Life is too short. And so we need to get better at asking questions. So, do you want to foster a culture of outcomes? We've all heard about this, outcomes over outputs and so on. Do you want to foster this culture of outcomes where people feel empowered and understand the results of what they're building and so on and so forth? Well, then ask them, what customer problems and business problems are you trying to solve? And don't ask the product manager, because most of product managers know this. They're super curious about this stuff. Ask the engineers. Ask the engineer, what is the business problem you're trying to solve and why? It's a great test to see if you are working in a so-called feature team or a delivery team or a true empowered product team. Do you want like a culture where teams talk with their customers every week? Well, then ask the question, like ask the teams, ask those around you, ask yourself, which customers are we talking with next week? What are we hoping to learn? What assumptions are we hoping to turn into facts? And do you want a culture of evidence-based decision-making rather than opinion-based or even worse, ego-driven decision-making? Well, then ask, how confident are you that customers actually want to buy this stuff? And how do you know? What evidence do you have? And you can take this up a notch. You can ask questions about evidence and confidence, but you can also measure it. I like to measure evidence and confidence from 1 to 5. It's a very simple framework. Again, there's a lot of other frameworks out there with different confidence meters and stuff like that people came up. Use whatever works for you. I don't care. Your context will matter, so pick your poison. But the most important thing is that by doing so, we get into this habit and we get into this shared language and shared mindset of actually talking about the evidence we actually have, and not just talking, but reflecting and so on. So you will go into conversations like, okay, so you've done a bunch of interviews and you've done a survey with 200 people. Cool. That's 1 out of 5. That's not very strong evidence. It's, by the way, I've done this so many times. Interviews plus survey. I've stuck with it so many times in the past. It's very, very light evidence. We want to evolve that. So, did you created a clickable prototype and you brought that artifact to a customer interview and you observed this customer interacting with it that clickable prototype? And did you create a fake landing page, sharing the value proposition, and then you measured the number of emails you would get with an email form, people signing up, they were actually interested in knowing more? Cool. That's a 2 and a 3 out of 5. That's much stronger evidence that customers will want to buy that product. Oh, did you actually collect some letters of intent, and did you open for pre-sales, and you got some customers actually buying the product that you haven't even built? That's irrefutable evidence from the markets, my friends. That's a 5 and a 4. And so you get into this shared language in your organization when you start measuring evidence and confidence levels for your ideas. It's very powerful. Other stuff that you can measure as well to get into this culture of discovery is to measure the customer interview cadence, so how frequently you're talking with customers, and also the number of experiments you're running per week or per month. Now, be careful with these two, because these are actually vanity metrics, meaning that you can run 1,000 experiments a week and learn nothing, or not making any decisions. So, it's important that we don't forget that the goal is to actually learn and then make a decision so that we build the right thing, so that we create value. But of course, if you're measuring this stuff, it kind of points you to a direction of whether you are getting into the right habits or not. Other stuff that you can do is measuring how many ideas you're killing over time. In a great product organization, in a great culture of discovery, we're killing ideas all the time. Killing ideas all the time. You're ideating, you're mapping your assumptions, validating your assumptions, and then you're learning you're wrong, you're learning that your product sucks, the product that we thought was great, and then we're killing it. That doesn't matter. We need to fall in love with the problem, not with the solutions. And so we do this repeatedly, so you're killing ideas all the time. All right, so last foundation to create this culture of discovery. Start measuring things that you're progressing in the right direction. Start measuring things that will give you an idea of whether you are getting into the right habits or not. So let's summarize all of this stuff. I threw a lot at you today, and let's summarize it and be quite actionable. So if you're a product leader, all those people raising your hands, a fifth of the room, if you're a product leader and you're getting started with this stuff, I really think it's helpful to focus a lot on strategic context, giving that strategic context to the teams, leading with strategic context, product vision, product strategy, the principles, and the team objectives. And then assign those team objectives to cross-functional teams that are competent to solve those problems that you want to solve. And put on some extra effort on certainly coaching, but sometimes both training and coaching. And by the way, I want to emphasize the idea that it does not need to come just from the product leader. Anyone can initiate stuff like this. It's very powerful. But if you are in a product team, well, I think it's very wise to start building trust with the leadership team, stakeholder management. There's many ways you can do this, but just start small. Show them the evidence. I mean, people like to learn the facts about their customers. Might be a bit tricky in some contexts and with some particular leaders, but they'll get there. And focus on collaborative and evidence-based decision-making whenever you can. Now, if you're a product leader and you want to master this stuff, you're already doing a lot of these things, well, then you can focus on asking even better questions to those around you. Focus on measuring confidence levels, very powerful. Even faster feedback loops and idea killing. And if you are a product team and you want to master this stuff, well, then you just focus on even better habits. Just focus on your habits. And focus on having more assumptions per idea. More assumptions per idea. You want to map all that stuff out, and you want to bring people from your organization to help you map out the whole idea, to help you, bring new perspectives to the table. And you want to focus on having more ideas per problem to solve. Okay. Now, remember one thing. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. If we want to foster great cultures, if we want to innovate on behalf of our customers consistently over time, sooner, with happier teams, we need to spend time fostering an amazing environment that is surrounding the teams, product people, to do great product work. Thank you so much. This was amazing. It was a true pleasure. Thank you. Do we have time for questions?
Yeah. You have time.
Okay. We have
minutes.
time for
Tenemos
questions.
varios minutos para hacer varias preguntas. You prefer in English?
In English is preferred, but I'm Portuguese. I should step up my Spanish, by the way.
Yeah, no problem, because Tim Tiga translate, but in English
super.
It's better for him.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes, thanks for the talk. I'm Javier Escribano. Very interesting thoughts on how you can, let's say, empower the team to do more discovery. One question about the different levels of evidence is like, how do you balance that with avoiding paralysis by analysis?
Very good question. I think
it would be great if you can share some examples on that.
Yeah, I think you're touching on a really important point and probably the biggest pitfall in discovery. So if you imagine a spectrum, on the one end of the spectrum, the biggest pitfall is not to do discovery at all or to ask questions about hypothetical future and stuff like that. In the other end of the spectrum, people go and do discovery forever. To your question, evidence levels help you because when you are starting small and doing very simple experiments like interviews and so on, if you learn that that is not a good idea, then you need to force yourself to ditch it. So I think it's very important to have very clear hypotheses, so you don't go to those interviews or don't approach those experiments with just, okay, let's learn about this. You have a clear hypothesis, this is what we want to learn, and this is what success looks like. So you have a clear metric of, okay, if this happens, so for example, okay, we want to say that 50% of the customers we talk to sign a letter of intent, which would be quite of an advanced experiment. If you get 10%, you need to figure out why was that, and then eventually maybe ending up pivoting or iterating your idea again. Now, how do you avoid analysis paralysis? I guess that's a very tricky situation because there's so many variables that play into it. The team, the competency of the team, what leaders want, if you have dates or not. So I really think it needs to be something that comes from the team, okay? Pure reflection, having retrospective meetings, okay, are we paralyzed? Are we moving fast? Another approach, just to end up the answer, another approach is to actually force yourself into a certain sprint. So you say, okay, we have 1 week to run this experiment, that's it. And we're going to learn this, and if we don't learn, or if we learn that we don't have the right solution, move on. So that's a good way to make you moving on. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
¿Ya? ¿Alguna pregunta más? ¿No? Okay,
Super.
thank you
Thank you so much for having me. You're great.